All right. So once again, welcome aboard. Sorry, just doing some adjustment here. Okay, great. Once again, welcome aboard. My name is Abdel Fain. I'm the executive director of CSNP as well as co-founder. And on this call, we do have two other co-founders of CSNP, and that is Emily Stem and Andrea Kim. I just want to take a moment and thank both of them, and especially thank Emily. Um, I personally don't believe CSNP would have been what it is today, without Emily's effort. Um, and I have recently shared a blog article on, for the past 2 years, 2.5 years, I have sort of stepped away from CSNP for personal reasons. And during that time, Emily kept CSNP up and running. She kept the lights on and kept the organization going. So I'm really thankful. I'm really thankful of her for doing that. So going off to kick things off. So today we are here for the CSNP relaunch, right? And sorry, I apologize. Let me give a little bit background about myself. Um, Executive Director, co-founder of CSNP. Outside of CSNP, I am the CTO of DevSec Flow. So as you can tell, I specialize in cybersecurity engineering. That's where my specialty mainly is. So today we are here for the CSNP relaunch. We were very excited. We have been planning this for quite some time now. And for those who have been with us for the past 5 years, this is going to be different. It's going to be new. It's something that we haven't done before. And we believe that as technology continues to evolve, so must nonprofits, so must our organization. And this is in a way our path to that evolution. So moving down to the next slide here. So our mission to transform global cybersecurity by providing accessible education, driving innovation, and empowering diverse communities to create a secure and equitable digital world. So what does that mean? Well, what that really means is that no matter where you are in the world, chances are you use some kind of technological device, right? And when we think about technology, technology is designed to empower us as individuals, to connect us to other people and connect us to the world. But quite often, if you're not a technology expert, what you don't typically think about is the risk that comes with using that technology, right? And when we say risk, we mean there's so many different type of risks, but the largest one is financial risk, right? I'm sure a lot of you quite often hear on the news how a business got breached, your personal data is out there, right? So there's a lot of cyber attacks going around, and unfortunately, when we look at cybersecurity space, a lot of the solutions that are coming out, unfortunately, are tailored more towards um, enterprises, right? They're not really designed for everyday computer technology users. And this is kind of where we come in as CSNP to sort of fill this gap. We want to create both the knowledge as well as technology to support our community, to support people around the world who are using technology and helping them stay safe, right? And studies have shown that nations, countries that have increased their adoption of technology, there's actually a direct correlation with increasing equity, right? Increasing the amount of money those countries are generating, right? So it is important that we safeguard technology and we continue to empower people and connect everyone in the world. So a new direction. I mentioned this a bit that if you've been with us for the past 5 years, this is a little bit of a different direction that we're taking as an organization. And there are several reasons for that being. We've seen that since the pandemic, a lot has changed in the world. And quite sadly, a lot of nonprofit have come and gone, who went out of businesses. And of course, you know, as an organization who, one, is volunteer based, two, is doing work for the community, fundraising becomes really challenging because when the economy gets tightened, unfortunately, donors, they have to conserve their resources and they have to reallocate those resources in other places. So quite honestly, the past 2 years, we've had some challenges in just raising fund, right? Since the pandemic hit, we move away from our traditional model, which CSNP was founded on, which was running meetups, right? So I think most of you would remember that we used to host monthly meetup across the country. Today, CSNP has about 14 chapters across the world, and 12 of those chapters are here in the US. One of those chapters is in Canada, and the other is in Hyderabad, India. Right. So we have quickly, fairly grew, but once again, as the pandemic came, it kind of forced us to take a take a step back and look at our organization and really determine which direction we want to head towards to as a whole. Right. And that's what brings us here to this new chapter of our organization. And without giving too much away, um, in a very shortly, I'm going to pass it down to our leaders. So for the past year or so, we have been recruiting individuals who are passionate about cybersecurity, who are passionate about nonprofit, who really wants to make an impact in the world, right? And these individuals are very well talented, as you will see for yourself, and are driven to make our mission become a reality. And throughout this presentation, you're going to hear a lot of ambitious goals, right? And they are ambitious. Once again, as the world changes, we have to evolve with the world. And we believe that going down on this path is going to help us become sustainable. So, with that said, I'm going to pass it down to Elaine.
Hello, my name is Elaine Harrison Newkirk, and I am the VP of Education, which includes general education, cyber safety, and cyber hygiene, and also inclusion and wellness, which is kind of one of our new sectors in education that we want to focus on. I currently work for Scythe. I am their customer service and quality assurance manager. I did win the Cyber Educator Award from Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu this year, and I also taught a workshop at Voices in Nashville, which I was pretty proud of. Um, I feel that I do have a unique point of view for this position and for my vision for this department. I'm a military spouse. My husband was a disabled vet. I'm also a neurodivergent and mentally and physically challenged, which a lot of people don't like to admit uh, out in the workforce, but I'm all about it. I pivoted from hotel management into the IT world. I started out as a PC tech and worked all the jobs up to where I am now. I'm trained in blue team, but I've also learned purple teaming and some red teaming as well. Um, and so let's talk about the education department and CSNP. I started almost 5 years ago. I think it was like 4.5 years as a blog manager, and now I'm VP. And I was not happy with how the department was going, with the direction it was going. So I was really excited when Abdel came to me and told me his vision. So I'm not going to read slides. I don't like reading slides, but the main points for the education department that I feel are really important and key to my vision and all of CSMP is that we want inclusive, accessible education. We want to make sure that everyone has access to free or low cost education, be it in the state, um, in inner cities or out around the globe as we grow and expand. That is the plan. We want to bring in partnerships with other institutions, educational institutions, small businesses, larger businesses. And I also really want to work to get high school and college students as ambassadors and influencers, not only to spread CSNP's word, but also to expose them to more to where they can participate in potentially presenting or writing a white paper or even teaching a class. And then also, we do want to incorporate more cutting edge technology into our learning platform and also as learning tools. So the education department will work with our R&D department. And hopefully we will be able to develop some really useful tools that are going to be more accessible for everyone to use. So we have a 3-year plan, and the first year is really going to be developing the curriculum and the learning platforms. But the first thing we need to do is we want to create a advisory board for curriculum. So we'll be reaching out to members and the public, just asking for input. There will be an official advisory board, but then also we want the voice of the people. We want to make sure that we're creating content that is going to be useful to you and your learning. And then also we will scale that out by utilizing things like AI and VR as learning tools. And eventually down the road, we would hope to have virtual and in-person learning hubs. Obviously, the in-person is going to take a little while longer, which is why it's on year 3. And then, as I had stated, we do want to utilize high school and college students as ambassadors and influencers. We all know that that's the largest sector of the population that knows social media other than Facebook, which is used by us old people, I was told by my daughters. So we plan to create certification pathways for the younger high school and college age students where they can get some accessible learning and education, and they're not paying a lot of money for it, if at all. And then also we'll be developing certification paths for professionals and those that are pivoting into cybersecurity. And lastly, which I just lost my thought. So we do want to adopt a train the trainer type of platform here. So I'll be looking to the public and members to volunteer and help us with that. We will have certification pathways and mentorship programs for people who would like to help us with educating and providing that accessible type of content.
Excellent. Thank you, Elaine. And up next is our Innovation and Technology Department. Next is CJ from the Cloud Engineering Department.
Hey, you stole my intro. I was going to say it says Curtis, but I did go by CJ. Abdel ruined my opening line.
Yeah.
But nice to meet you all. I'm new to CSNP, and I'll be leading the Cloud Engineering Department. A little bit about myself. On the professional background side, I currently work at Meta as a production engineer. I've been there for about 3 years now, primarily dealing with scaling large-scale production systems all across the world. My job is to make sure they don't kind of cave under the scale. But before that, I had a bit of a non-traditional background. I spent the first half of my career as an Army officer, which was not an engineer by any means, but I was leading IT projects all across the world, and then transitioned into the industry as a consultant helping companies move their workloads into cloud. So migrating on-prem workloads into the cloud. Down towards the bottom of the slide, just my skills and my education. I have a bachelor's in physics. It turns out that computer scientists get paid more, so I went and got my master's in that. And it tend to work out pretty well. Switching gears a little bit to talk about what is cloud here at CSNP. So before I dive into these three pillars, I want to take a step back and provide a little bit of context. CSNP's goal is to provide a safe and equitable digital world for everyone and empower the communities to do that. So how is cloud going to do that within CSNP? Like, how are we going to support that mission? And really, you could initially think of this as two target groups. We have your everyday user of the internet, those that go and Google things, check their email, get on Facebook. We want to build the tools and services so that they can use that in a safer way. So that would be something like a VPN service that they can use, and they don't have to worry about having their privacy kind of spied on or selling off their user data to other people. That could be tools that we offer that'll let them scan their online identity and presence and give them a report. So that's kind of what we have on the horizon for that group. The second group is small business owners, startups, those individuals that are looking to create something for the world. We want to make sure that they do it in a secure way. So we have some products down the line for that group as well. Now kind of going into what's on the slide here, the three pillars, and kind of with that in mind, defining and sharing best practices. So this is targeting that second group, those that are looking to build something. We want to make sure that we can provide a framework to build what you want to build in a safe and secure way, so that when you're handling people's data, you do it in a safe way. Some things that come to mind are what some people call DevOps toolboxes, where you kind of reach for this thing that you can apply to your environment and get this other thing for free. That's what we want to give the community so that you don't have to invest engineering effort into that. Switching to our middle tier, we have the Cloud Innovation Lab. So what is unique about cloud is that it can leverage a lot of technologies that you don't have at home, like in your closet. Not many people have a quantum computer. In fact, I don't know anybody. Not too many people have clusters of GPUs lying around to do ML or AI workloads, but the cloud does offer all of that. And I want to make sure that when we provide a way to open that up to our community here so they can poke and prod at those technologies to learn how to use them securely. And then lastly, the final pillar here on this slide is a multi-cloud strategy. A lot of people think about this and they think about just deploying everything everywhere. And that's not really the case. This multi-cloud strategy is more that we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves to a single cloud provider. We want to make sure that we use the best tool for the job, and also make sure that we use the right tool for the CSNP community. We don't want to expose ourselves to risk by going to this no-name cloud provider and hosting all of your user data there. So this is where we're going to be leveraging some of the well-known, reputable places. So this is the what. The next slide talks a little bit about the how we're going to get there and what the future looks like. So in our first year, it's all internal facing. So you won't see a whole lot of the cloud department in the first year. We're going to be working on building a foundation. Starting off as a new department within CSNP, we have the opportunity to make sure we do it right with security in mind versus deploying things now and trying to fix them down the road. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence here, establish a process, and then make sure that we publicize that to the community so that you guys can follow the same process. Year two, that's when we're going to start stepping out into the spotlight, and you'll see a little bit more of the cloud department. This is where we're going to be publishing that DevOps toolbox, those services that users can use to navigate the internet securely. We'll be starting to host those in our own cloud environment, free to use for the CSNP community. And then year three, the last tier on this slide is the innovation lab that I talked about, poking and prodding at those new technologies, and also reaching out to other organizations in this space, the cybersecurity space, we want to extend our reach and make sure that we're promoting good practices everywhere that we can. And that involves reaching out to other organizations to ensure that they're doing the same. And I believe that wraps up the cloud engineering department. Come to the Q&A to learn more.
Thank you, CJ. And on to the next person, Santosh.
Yeah. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome here to the relaunch event of the CSNP org. Thanks to Adil and team. I think CJ did a stellar job and he kept the ball high. So I hope I'll try to match it. So as you can see, like my name is Santosh Kumar Edikulla. I'm currently operating as VP of Research and Security Engineering under the CSNP org. So regarding my background, I'm apart from CSNP, I currently work as a Senior Director of Software Engineering at Purpose Financial, lead like multiple engineering teams distributed across all different geographies of the world. In my prior experience, I worked at different organizations like Google, Amazon, MasterCard, McAfee, etc. I have over 22 years of work experience, primarily dealt with building large-scale distributed software systems. If somebody is interested in the audience to understand, have a coffee conversation or lunch conversation about building large-scale distributed systems, please do ping me anytime. I'm happy to jump on a call. Like over the period of 22 years of work experience, I have built my career starting as an IC and then gradually grown to the manager, senior manager, director, and senior director. At Google, I led like 4 engineering teams, predominantly under the cloud networking and security org. If you would have gone to the GCP console and used service directory, that is one of the product I delivered at Google. So my domain expertise predominantly lies under cloud networking and the security org, but again, on the software development side, like building software development products for various enterprises under cloud networking and the security org. So currently as a leader, I lead the strategy and innovation at Purpose Financial. And over the period of years of experience, I've always believed in research and innovation. Technology is always a passion and always associated with the open source engagement and the communities like Apache Software Foundation, GNU Linux, and educating wide academia and institutes all over the world. In my current role of at CSNP, I lead 2 divisions. One is the security engineering, another is research and department, research and technology and development. So under the security engineering, you see the 3 pillars which are laid out here. Like one of the things which we wanted to focus at CSNP is to keep the communities at the center. When I say the communities, I mean like the diverse groups, students, organization, and institutes who have a penchant to drive the cybersecurity and the research in the security world by associating with various open source engagements. Now, using those communities, first we wanted to protect our own CSNP assets. As we grow and scale our CSNP, we will be using wide digital assets to build our lab, to build some to build some solutions or security software, which will be used for the community. So we wanted to engage the community and drive a zero trust approach to ensure authenticated authorization and encrypted assets for the CSNP. But as part of that particular process also, we wanted to engage the community in doing some research, understanding the best security engineering practices, and document, author, and publish some articles for the CSNP audience, as well as for the wider community out there, which can be leveraged by the enterprises or the communities out there to build the security architecture. How an enterprise, when it is building from the start, as it grows into an enterprise in its journey, what are the framework principles, what are the different security practices and the products which they can build and leverage in its organization. So we wanted to use CSNP as an exercise to build these capabilities and use that as a documentation effort to bring in awareness and education to the wider community group. The second pillar, as you can see, is to build security products and tools. As we build our 3-year roadmap under the security engineering and R&D department, we want to focus on building some products. Like I think CJ mentioned about the VEP and surveys, but we also wanted to build, do some research, connect with the academia and institutes out there, and try to see like what are the relevance of the security products out there, both under the cloud portfolio and the non-cloud portfolio, and adapt some of those security engineering and modern best practices, both at the CSNP and for the wider community. Like we will be building some security solutions so that we can onboard more community members into the CSNP and work on some of the research effort in that particular direction. The third department, as you can see, is about the community-driven solution department, which in line follows with the previous pillar, where we wanted to establish a dedicated lab at CSNP where industry folks, the academia, research and social diverse communities. They can play around with the known security engineering practices, have their hands dirty, create some lab sessions so that individuals who don't have access to the enterprise products or the learning or the cybersecurity programs can play around, like advanced anti-malware practices, reverse engineering practices. What is that which is happening in terms of the ransomware? So we wanted to create that lab which can bring in some education and awareness among the wider group, and that will be hosted on the cloud. The other thing which we wanted to focus on building the solution development is about the cloud native practices. These days, you can't talk about the security without talking about the cloud. So we wanted to understand the security architecture, the products which are used in the cloud security and the cloud native security foundation, and build some capabilities and the software which can be used by the wider community. The next slide, please. So the second pillar, which I'll be driving under the CSNP org, is about the research and development. Our mission for the research and development is to build cutting edge security research and innovation. What does that mean is like the research is very wide, right? Like research can only be possible when you have like multiple groups together, brainstorm and ideate and come with a meaningful idea, and then come with a process to build something meaningful for the wider community, right? So we wanted to engage with the wider community there, build relationships, establish the trust, and engage them on some of the research capabilities which we can offer and drive as part of the CSNP. The three pillars which we want to focus over the next 3 years will be primarily on cryptography. The second pillar will be on the data security and the privacy engineering, which is widely emerging concept out there, and a lot of institutes, organizations are struggling to understand like how they cope up with the data security standards, or what exactly is the privacy engineering framework or which they can adopt. And the next thing is focusing on the next gen technologies, which is about the AI and AI security. Just to give you from brief 30-second speech under each of this pillar, like the cryptography is very important and critical, which we believe for the organization communications, both for the data at rest and data in motion. And for that, we wanted to focus on some of the homomorphic encryption, post-quantum cryptography as the evolution of quantum computers is taking place. Like, how do you make our communication secure, the encryption standard secure? For this particular thing, we wanted to do some research, publish some articles, and also adopt and build some capabilities and solutions so that it can be useful for the wider community. As you can see, like we wanted to focus on the advancement of these cryptographic techniques and what the academy out there is doing, and then bring in that to the social and diverse communities in the field. The second pillar, as I said, like about the data security and the privacy engineering, we wanted to build some practical real world applications for secure computation and privacy engineering, which it could be like any tool solutions which can help organization or the social diverse communities to understand what are the different compliance needs for the privacy engineering, how do they adopt as a framework, what are the tools and capabilities. Maybe we can club from the lot of open source as an aggregator for this as a CSNP, but we also wanted to build some of the in-house capabilities so that we can help the diverse social communities out there. Again, the third pillar is on the AI, like AI security. AI is like an emerging technology. Any emerging technology, when it goes through a curve, it requires certain aspects of learning. It requires certain aspects of adaptability in the organization. I think there is a huge curve of learning and knowledge base which can be built under the security umbrella of the AI. Like how security can be embedded as part of the AI adoption, whether it is could be Gen AI, RAG, or how do you run your machine learning models or AI securely by preserving the data security standards. So there is a huge scope and opportunity to do the research. And we wanted to engage with you all folks to do some research and publish some capabilities and the solutions under the emerging technologies, not only under the AI, anything under the blockchain and quantum computing as well. Thanks. Next slide, please.
Can you see the slide?
Yeah, I said like the next slide. Like I think I'm done, right? Like there is
the
yeah.
3-year plan.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the screen took a little bit of time to load. So the as you can see, like our plan of security engineering and R&D laid out around the 3 years. We wanted to build gradually in the year one, where we wanted to build some research hubs and the talent hubs, which will help us in doing this research and development and security engineering, which we laid out earlier under the three umbrellas of cryptography, data security, and privacy engineering and emerging technologies. Once we focus on this research hub, we wanted to build a roadmap, tactical and strategic roadmap to focus on some of the capabilities in the year one. We wanted to build a lab which can be used for the wider community out there in helping some of these capabilities. Then we gradually wanted to roll it out to the year two as we build, rather than incrementally. We wanted to focus on like small tactical efforts and outcomes in the year one, and then gradually build over to the year two, where we wanted to build an innovation hub, which could be again partnering with the wider communities, academia, social groups, and diverse groups there, and focus on some publications which could be useful for the communities, and then build some R&D capabilities. And then we wanted to fine tune and take some survey and feedback from the community there, how we are shaping up these two divisions, and then we focus and roll it out to the year three. In the year three, we wanted to build over the momentum of year one and year two, and primarily focusing on capabilities of cryptography, AI, and security, and build on the solution capabilities which we built over year two, and then drive the innovation further in year three, and then build the future roadmap for the R&D. Any questions?
Thank you, Santosh. We'll leave questions at the end of the presentation here. Moving on to the next division, community relations, and that starts with marketing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Siebold, and if you haven't seen, I have a sidekick. We are a family-friendly organization. My son has appeared numerous times in my background. So just emphasizing, this isn't a one-size-fits-all organization. We welcome everyone. And it's across, as you probably imagine, we are across all different time zones. So, we make it work essentially, however it needs to happen. But from my own personal background, I have a lot of experience more on the traditional marketing side, in brands such as MAC Cosmetics, which is part of Estee Lauder, and other divisions of Estee Lauder. So totally understand the retail world, the media, and the marketing and communications world. But I've always been involved in more entrepreneurial departments within those big organizations. And so if you're here because you're curious curious about cybersecurity, you, might be a teacher and students who might be curious in cybersecurity, this is the place to be, because it's not just for people who have masters of science, degrees in cryptography, super specific backgrounds that relate to cybersecurity. You could be cyber curious is kind of how I call it. And there's a role for you, because we have so many things that we want to accomplish, as you can see in the slides that we've already gone through, that we need lots of people to join the team to do it. And there is lots of different marketing ways that we could do that in kind of non-traditional, technology savvy ways. And across those, really, I think, as you can see in these three pillars, developing accessible campaigns that really come to life for our community. If you've been on our website, if you've been part of the organization for a while, you know that largely we're a group of professionals, and we cater to the professional world, but also there's the elder community, there's children, there's all the different communities that, as we integrate technology into our lives, we expose ourselves to cybersecurity risks. And so we want to develop content that really adapts to each audience and speaks to each audience, has an emotional connection, because creating that emotional connection in the storytelling is what's going to win and to resonate in terms of getting the impact out. So creating these accessible marketing campaigns really then leans into the next pillar of the storytelling and featuring the voices of within the community, but then also as we start to work, you'll see in the next couple of slides as we continue going within this pillar, within the marketing communications pillar, that there, and as Elaine already outlined, that there's so many different external organizations, universities and colleges that we want to start to partner with. And so then to start to create the stories of who we're impacting and working with there. And not least at all is creating some thought leadership that we can start to share with the larger world through conferences, through presentations, and just get the word out of what we're doing. Because from a nonprofit sector, there are people involved in the cybersecurity world, but you will see that our remit, our goals, and our ambitions really are unparalleled. So we want to get that message out. So then breaking it down into year 1, 2, and 3, you'll see the common themes here are content and community, because in order for this all to come to life, my belief is that it really has to come back to these two things at the end of each year, or at the end of each day. So year 1, as we've really been echoing, it's really like a hunker down and get the work done, make sure we're getting our message tight. We know what we want to be messaging, but just making sure that we have the team to start to get that message out. We are a team of volunteers, but we want diverse talent. We want graphic designers, we want web developers, we want marketing managers, because all of this really comes together in terms of building who the cybersecurity marketing community is. And then as we get into year 2 and year 3, there are what I would say is some pretty cool things that we want to do in terms of launching a podcast. I'm sure, audio is like, it takes up like 15, 20% of our media consumption these days, because it's just how we're consuming content. And why not be where the audience is in terms of creating a CSNP podcast that really can resonate with our stories, and bring the message to the audience from an audio perspective. And then organizing larger, more public-facing things such as a CSNP summit, where we can gather and bring together members and industry leaders and have some more impactful and larger scale conversations. And in year 3, I think, as even CJ just said, really start to make that the open the box come to life from a public perspective year, in having a real world application in terms of CSNP Innovation Challenge, where we want engagement, we want to understand what the real world challenges are and then solve them, and then tell that story from a marketing world, and have an impact marketing report. How many of you have, as you're deciding where to invest or what to do, you're reading a financial report. So we want to have a CSNP cybersecurity impact report, because we want to show the impact that we're making within the community. And tying into the other cross-functional leaders that you're hearing from today, having from a community perspective in year 3, a career fair where we are here because we know that, there are some people that are already in the cybersecurity field, but there are others that are interested in entering into it. And so we can become that gateway. CSNP is really birthed or rebirthed to become that gateway to strengthen careers and forge new careers within cybersecurity. So we have ambitious goals and hope that people that you want to bring along for the ride.
Thank you, Alex. Moving on to the next person, Andy.
Thank you, Abdel. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this relaunch of CSNP. I'm really excited. We've been a lot building up to it. And we love that we're really able to bring a lot more to the public than what we've even had in the past. So it's really great to be able to have an expansion there, growing on where we already have strengths and adding into the mix. So just to, so Alex and I work hand in hand, and I won't get too far into like the redundancies of where our efforts will enmesh. We're obviously going to be working together. So there's the marketing arm of it, and then there's like the strategic communications arm of it, communicating to our existing membership, communicating to our other stakeholders in our public-facing role in public relations. My background is really as a marketing generalist. I've had a lot of different roles in marketing over the years, a lot of different types of companies, including technology companies. And really, in my most recent history, I've been working a lot with organizations in sort of a startup mode. So even at Arizona State University, where I am currently, we've launched 2 brand new websites, and that's really been a real startup approach for us. And I've worked with some other companies too on that front, which I think really helps me put a lens around the ways that we could communicate supporting smaller organizations, nonprofits, the organizations that really maybe don't have the bench strength, the technical bench strength that they really need to make sure that they have the cybersecurity, cybersafety efforts in place that everybody needs, and really being able to help be that voice, for the community, for the public. So obviously in the structure that you've seen before, that I have some, 3 core pillars there that are really about amplifying a voice that CSNP wants to do in the cybersecurity industry, to amplify a voice for change, to really bring cybersecurity to everybody. As Alex is saying, everybody of all walks of life is going to be touched by cybersecurity. It's really important that people have a base level of knowledge. It's really important that we're expanding into underrepresented communities, because cybersecurity is such an important component of the way we are operating as a society, and we need as many people as possible to help support that. So in that vein, the 3 pillars that are really kind of core to the way that the communications team is looking at our job is to raise awareness of the industry, the opportunities, and what that minimum base knowledge is in all communities. So conducting targeted outreach, getting out there with op-eds, getting out there with public speaking, shining a light on the unique cybersecurity challenges that everybody faces, making sure our messages match who the audience is. Our education department has always done a great job of having a sort of tiered approach based on your level of expertise, having content that's available to everybody, and really just advocating for more inclusive and accessible cybersecurity solutions that really involve everybody, give everybody an opportunity to pursue this as a career, give everybody an opportunity to make sure that they are part of the solution. And in forging strategic partnerships for impact, that's really about CSNP embracing its role as a mouthpiece for the industry for people who don't have a voice. Even you think the general public doesn't necessarily have somebody speaking on their behalf. That our tech giants in the U.S. in particular, they have the ear of policymakers. Well, who's speaking out really to represent everyday people, people in just the day-to-day life, make sure the general public is thought about when making these kinds of policies. And so that's really about building collaborations with, nonprofits, knowing what they're seeing, advocacy groups, other community organizations, joining forces so that we are stronger as an industry in getting in front of the key policymakers and decision makers, and leveraging partnerships to drive change and advance shared goals. And that all leads to our final pillar, which is really about educating and engaging policymakers, establishing those relationships, writing policy briefs. We have a great bench of experts in this field who can wax intelligent about all corners of cybersecurity, and there's no reason we shouldn't be publishing materials and creating policy statements that help the uninformed leaders be informed when they're making these kinds of decisions, and really getting engaged, where we're having regular conversations, participating in hearings, holding our own public press briefings, policy forums, and just essentially ensuring everybody's voice is being heard. And so for a 3-year plan, I've kind of mapped it out in sort of our foundation building and then expansion, and then really kind of innovating and where we can grow our impact. But it's really initially about building awareness of who CSNP is, really sharing that we are experts in the field, sharing our updated structure for the organization and how that gives us added strength, and making sure our vision is known. Reactivating our existing channels, but also starting new channels. For example, we were all set to launch Discord and become more active there, which I know a lot of people in the technology areas are really engaged in, and wanting to be able to foster that two-way conversation, and give people a place where they can sort of self-serve those conversations and talk to each other. And then, of course, our public reach, as I was mentioning, making sure we're connected to media outlets, partner organizations, and government connections. And then really, for my kind of my own selfish reasons, expanding the communications team itself, making sure I have a bench of content contributors, making sure I have some volunteers to specifically help with the communications management, the PR outreach. And then moving into year 2, it's really about leveraging the fact that our communications are mature, having all these channels in place, building more awareness, boosting the CSNP presence and how available we are. So really thinking about, like, for example, our website, does our website answer every question that somebody would have if they visited us? Or starting a starting like a speakers bureau so that people can book CSNP experts to speak to their organizations or to their audiences. Taking our channels and making them more mature, help fostering organic growth as well as opt-in promotions, and really getting our content out there so people are aware who we are, who may have never heard of us, and are opting into those communications. And then just being responsive with our public relations to make sure that we are fostering those important relationships in media and government and with other organizations. And then in our third year, really, it's about our innovation and impact. We anticipate in our first couple of years, we really have done a good job at setting a baseline of getting the word out about who we are, building awareness, having a presence with all the key stakeholders, leveraging that for a member drive where we're really just looking to boost our membership exponentially, because we will already be well known. In fact, I feel like we get organic membership signups anyway. So we really think that with the work that we'll be doing in the next 2 years, that'll really be amplified. And then really, we have chapters in place. We have people in cities throughout, as Abdel had said, a number of cities throughout the United States and the world, really wanting to get more to that chapter reactivation, so that events, networking on a local level, the kind of grassroots community-based connections, fostering those kinds of connections. We know how to help communities foster those connections so they can kind of run on their own. And we'd really want to revitalize our chapter network. And then public policy, like as I mentioned, is really just, we see ourselves as go-to experts. We see ourselves as a voice for the people without a voice. And we know that there are ways that we can really get some informative work out there that's going to help set the stage for really making an engagement with policy, with making it so that there's, like the public service announcement approach, so that everybody's aware of their role in cybersecurity. And that's it.
Thank you, Andy. And until next is our VP of Grants and Funding. Unfortunately, Shri is actually out of the country for the time being. But this is a good segue to mention that we have a, Ask Me Anything AMA, Meet the VP on October 29th and October 30th. So this is an opportunity for, you've heard from the speakers today. So whoever you're interested in learning more about their vision and their department, please join us on those 2 dates. So Shri has an esteemed profile. He has served as VP of Finance and CFO for businesses. He is currently a senior manager at a consulting firm, helping small businesses and businesses like CSNP. But please join us on October 30th. That's when Shri will be there. And if you want to learn anything about our revenue stream, the new direction that we're heading towards, Shri will be there and more than happy to answer questions. So tonight you've heard a lot about community, and you've heard AI. Those are the two key words the team has said over and over, right? And when we say community, we mean you, people who are on this call, including ourselves, right? Because we are all part of this society. And when we say community, we mean small businesses, we mean nonprofits, we mean children, we mean women, right? So essentially, we are an organization for all, right? We are an organization for everyone because we have realized that technology affects and impacts everyone, right? So today you've heard from our leaders. This is a new direction that we are heading towards to as an organization. As you can see, we are essentially a technology organization, right? And for good reason. Earlier on the call, I have mentioned that during the pandemic, a lot of nonprofits went out of business. During the pandemic, our revenue has drastically decreased, right? That's because um, our primary sponsors were vendors, and this is because we were meeting in person and we were engaging. But because we have somewhat gone fully virtual, that has become a bit difficult, right? And this means that donors and funders who fund nonprofit organization as the economy gets tight, well, things get difficult for them too, right? And that means that less funding for other nonprofits. And what you're seeing here today is we're trying to build an organization that offers educational knowledge, but also builds technology. About half of us in this organization are technology leaders, right? So this has become a great opportunity for us to put our own skills to use for ourselves. And we want to build technology. We want to educate the general public. We want to build technology for small businesses, nonprofits. We understand that cybersecurity is a very challenging thing. And because of that, you may not always have the right resources, the skill set to have what you need. And essentially, this is the kind of gap that we are trying to fit as we are trying to fill as an organization. So with that said, I'm going to move on to the next slide here. With that said, we are almost at time here. But here is an opportunity, a chance where you can help us meet our vision, right? As said earlier, these goals are ambitious, right? But they're nothing that our strong team hasn't done before, right? And they're nothing we can do as a community, right? Um, I think um, I think most of you know today we are a volunteer-based organization, and you've seen that there were three-year plans, and this three-year plan is our path to become sustainable. It's our path to get to a point where we can sustain ourselves. Of course, we're always going to need donation. We're going to need other funders, right? But this means that when the economy gets rough, we are still able to sustain ourselves. And we really cannot do it without your help. So some of the ways you can help us today, technology is going to be a big part of what CSNP does next. Um, and if you are able to connect us with cloud providers, right, we can absolutely use as much cloud resources as we can have because our goal is to build this technology in the cloud environment. And of course, I think, a big thing that you've heard is our engineering team are developing technology, right? And our big thing is going to be to open source our technology, is to share this technology because we understand that we can't do this alone, right? And especially when we look at other nonprofits and other small businesses, they simply just do not have the resources. So it becomes important for us to open source our technology and share cybersecurity knowledge. Cybersecurity is not something that should be hugged over by any individual or any individual organization, right? But it's something that should be shared with whatever mean you have. And of course, in the next few weeks, we're going to be opening our volunteer portal. We're going to post the roles that we're going to be seeking in order to start executing this vision in 2025. And I want to say the last but not least here, and I believe this was mentioned earlier by Elaine, right? In order for us to really grow our mission, we're going to need to really spread the word, right? And how will we do that? Well, one of that is the ambassador program that we're going to have. This means that you get to become part of our organization. We educate you, and you go out and you educate other people, right? Especially when we look at elders, sad to say, billions of dollars are coming out of elders' pocket just through cyber scam, right? And if we can educate each other, I think we can do a bit better in those kind of areas. So I do want to say thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being part of our organization. And thank you to every volunteer who has made CSNP possible since inception, who has helped us get here to this point, right? So thank you again. And I think we have, we're right on time. If you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. We can follow up with you. We already have your registration information. And also, don't forget, October 29th and October 30th is an opportunity for you to have a more in-depth conversation with these leaders and really understand their vision and how you can contribute to that. So with that said, thank you very much. And thank you to our VPs, the leaders. Thank you to our co-founders and everyone who helped us get to this point.